Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I want to tell you about the electromagnetic field definition. Charge and moving particle produce a magnetic field. When the speed of a charged particle changes, an electromagnetic field is generated. Electromagnetic field definition of electromagnetic field without use realizing it in our environment, especially our household appliances. There are lots of items that contain electromagnetic field. Electromagnetic field, often called EM field, are generated when charged particles, such as electrons, are accelerated. Thus, electromagnetic field are all particles that are electrically charged and surrounded by an electric field. It was also first discovered in the 9th century when physicists realized that electric arc spark could be reproduced remotely and without connecting wires between them. This led scientists to believe that it was possible to communicate over long distance without the use of wires. The radio transmitter that first used this electric arc and the associated receiver were as exciting to people in the early 20th century as the internet is today. This was the beginning of what we usually call wireless communication. Electromagnetic field MA are usually generated from current alternating AC in electrical conductor. The frequency of the buffer current can range from one cycle in thousands of years at the low extremes to trillions or quadrillion cycles per second. At very high temperatures, the standard unit for electromagnetic waves is Hertz. The frequency of 1000 Hz is 1 kHz. KHZ. The frequency of 1000 kHz is 1 MHz. The frequency of 1 MHz is 1 GHz. Electromagnetic wavelength is related to frequency. If the frequency f of an electromagnetic wave is specified in megahertz and the wavelength W is specified in meters, so in free space the two are related by the formula W 3000 per F. For example, a signal at 100 MHz has a wavelength of 3 meters or about 10 meters. This same formula applies when the frequency is in gigahertz and the wavelength is specified in millimeters. Thus, a signal at 30 gigahertz will have a wavelength of 10 millimeters or a little less than half an inch. It's hard to calculate using a formula like that, especially for people who don't know it. It would be easier if we had a tool that could measure magnetic field. Now, there is a useful tool for measuring electromagnetic field, namely the EMF tester. You can get it through the Indonesian Measurement Tool website. The EM energy field is called the spectrum of electromagnetic radiation. In theory, it extends from long wavelengths to short wavelengths, whereas in the physics of the electromagnetic field is a field that consists of a combination of two related vector fields, namely an electric field and a magnetic field. A 5W1H question 1. Who is the true father of electricity? By the by India Today webdesk, the father of electricity, Michael Faraday, was born on September 22 in 1791. The English scientist who is responsible for the discovery of electromagnetic induction, electrolysis, and diamagnetism, hailed from a poor family of a blacksmith. What is the electromagnetic? An electromagnet is a type of magnet in which the magnetic field is a type of magnet in which the magnetic field is produced by an electric current. Electromagnet usually consist the wire wound into a coil. A current through the wire creates a magnetic field which is concentrated in the coil, denoting the center of the coil. Where are electromagnets used in everyday life? Electric motor in the home. By far the most common use of electromagnet is in electric motors. Think of all of those bits of electrical equipment with some kind of electric motor: vacuum cleaner, refrigerator, washing machine, tumble dryer, food blender, fan oven, microwave, dishwasher, hair dryer. And why it's called electromagnetic? Scientists call them all electromagnetic radiation. The wave of energy are called electromagnetic because they have oscillating electric and magnetic field. Scientists classify them by their frequency of wavelength, going from high to low frequency, short to long wavelength. When are electromagnetic used? Electromagnets are widely used a component of loudspeaker, hard disk, MRI machines, scientific instrument, and magnetic separator equipment. How does an electromagnetic work? Electromagnets are made of coils of wire with electricity passing through them, moving charge or create magnetic field. So when the coil of wire in electromagnet have an electric current passing through them, the coil behave like a magnet. Alright, B. Verbal and nominal sentence clues. Verbal sentences are those which start with a verb. Non-verbal sentences start with a noun or pronoun or with derivative nouns. Verbal sentence consists of a verb plus subject plus object or adverbial phrase. The subject and object can be either noun or pronouns. Nominal sentence, also known as equational sentence, is a linguistic term that refers to a non-verbal sentence. As a nominal sentence does not have a verbal predicate, it may contain a nominal predicate and adjectival predicate. In Semitic language, also an adverbial predicate or even a prepositional predicate. 1. Verbal sentence. 1. Many household appliances contain electromagnetic field. 2. A signal at 100 MHz has a wavelength of 3 meters or about 10 meters. Electromagnetic field definition: charge and moving particle produce a magnetic field. This led scientists to believe that it was possible to communicate over long distance without the use of wires. 5. This same formula applies when the frequency is in gigahertz and the wavelength is specified in millimeters. 6. Thus, a signal at 30 gigahertz will have a wavelength of 10 millimeters or a little less than half an inch. It's hard to calculate using a formula like that, especially for people who don't know it. It it would be easier if we had a tool that called measure electromagnetic magnetic field. 9. Now there is a useful tool for measuring electromagnetic field, namely the EMF tester. 10. It extends from long wavelengths to short wavelengths. 2. Nominal sentence. Michael Faraday is the father of electricity. 2. An electromagnetic field is generated. 3. Electromagnetic fields, often called EM fields, are generated when charged particles such as electrons are accelerated. 4. Thus, electromagnetic fields are all particles that are electrically charged and surrounded by an electric field. 5. The associated research were as exciting to people in the early 20th century as the internet is today. This was the beginning of what we usually call wireless communication. 7. Electromagnetic field MA are usually generated from current alternating AC in electrical conductor. 8. The frequency of the buffer current can range from one cycle in thousands of years at the low extremes to trillions or quadrillions cycles per second at very high temperature. 9. The standard unit for electromagnetic waves is hertz. 10. The frequency of 1000 Hz is 1 kHz. C. Active and passive contraction. Kilowatt. Active sentence is a sentence where the subject performs the action of the verb. For example, John kicked the ball. John is the subject. John is the performing the action of the verb kick. Therefore, this is an active sentence. An active sentence is the opposite of a passive sentence. In a passive sentence, the action of the main verb is done to the subject. The passive voice occurs when the person of think that perform an action is not grammatical subject of the sentence. Instead, the person or think that receives the action is placed before the verb. Passive tenses are formed using the verb to combine with a past participle. Number 1. The electromagnetic field was first discovered in the 19th century. Passive. 2. The standard unit for electromagnetic is the hertz. Passive. 3. Electromagnetic wavelength is related to frequency. Passive. It is difficult to calculate using a formula like that, especially for people who don't know it. Passive. It will be easier if we have a tool that can measure the electromagnetic field. Passive. 6. Charged and moving particles produce a magnetic field. 7. When the speed of a charged particle changes, an electromagnetic field is produced. 8. A frequency of 1000 Hz is 1 kHz. Active electromagnetic field MA are usually generated from current in electrical conductor. Active electromagnetic field, often called EM field, are produced when charged particles such as electrons are accelerated. Active. The list of vocabulary. Number 1. Electromagnetic, meaning electromagnetic. 2. Field meaning lapangan. 3. Frequency meaning frequency. 4. Particles meaning particle. 5. Electrons, pronoun spelling electron meaning electron. 6. Electric meaning electric. 7. Transmitter, pronoun spelling transmitter meaning pemancar. 8. Spark, pronoun spark meaning bunga api. 9. Receiver penerima. 10. Radio E. Tenses and its pattern. Please identify the tenses of the 10 sentences you take from the article. Learn the matrix clues below. 1. Charged and moving particle produce a magnetic field, present tense. 2. When the speed of a charged particle changes and the electromagnetic field is generated, present tense. 3. Electromagnetic field, often called EM field, are generated when charged particles such as of electron are accelerated, present tense. This led scientists to believe that it was possible to communicate over long distance without the use of wire, past tense. 5. The radio transmitter that first used this electric arc and the associated receiver were as exciting to people in the early 20th century as the internet is today, past tense. 6. This was the beginning of what we usually call wireless communication, past tense. 7. The frequency of the buffer current can range from 1 cycle in thousands of years in the low extremes to trillion of quadrillion cycles per second, present tense. 8. The standard unit for electromagnetic wave is hertz, present tense. 9. If the frequency f of an electromagnetic wave is specified in megahertz and the wavelength w is specified in meters, present tense. 10. Thus a signal at 30 gigahertz will have a wavelength of 10 millimeters or a little less than half an inch, present tense. Translation into Indonesia. Definisi medan elektromagnetik, partikel bermuatan dan bergerak menghasilkan medan magnet. Ketika kecepatan partikel bermuatan berubah, medan elektromagnetik dihasilkan. Medan elektromagnetik, pengertian medan elektromagnetik. Tanpa kita sadari, di lingkungan kita, terutama peralatan rumah tangga kita, banyak sekali barang-barang yang mengandung medan elektromagnetik. Medan elektromagnetik sering disebut medan IM, dihasilkan ketika partikel bermuatan seperti elektron dipercepat. Jadi medan elektromagnetik adalah sebuah partikel yang bermuatan listrik dan dikelilingi oleh medan listrik juga pertama kali ditemukan pada abad ke-19 ketika fisikawan menyadari bahwa busur listrik percikan api dapat direproduksi dari jarak jauh dan tanpa menghubungkan kabel di antara mereka. Hal ini membuat para ilmuwan percaya bahwa adalah mungkin untuk mengkomunikasikan jarak jauh tanpa menggunakan kabel. Pemancar radio yang pertama kali menggunakan busur listrik ini dan penerima yang terkait sama menariknya dengan orang-orang di awal abad ke-20. Seperti halnya internet saat ini. Ini adalah awal dari apa yang biasa kita sebut komunikasi nirkabel. Medan elektromagnetik ME biasanya dihasilkan dari arus AC bolak-balik. Dalam konduktor listrik, frekuensi arus penyangga dapat berkisar dari satu siklus dalam ribuan tahun pada ekstrem rendah hingga triliun atau kuadriliun siklus per detik pada suhu yang sangat tinggi. Suhu satuan standar untuk elektromagnetik adalah Hertz. Frekuensi 100 Hz atau 1000 Hz adalah 1 kHz. Frekuensi 1000 kHz adalah 1 MHz, frekuensi 1000 MHz adalah 1 GHz. Panjang gelombang elektromagnetik berhubungan dengan frekuensi jika frekuensi F gelombang elektromagnetik ditentukan dalam MHz dan W panjang gelombang ditentukan dalam meter. Jadi dalam ruang bebas keduanya dihubungkan dengan rumus W sama dengan 300 per F. Misalnya sinyal pada 100 MHz memiliki panjang gelombang 3 MHz 3M atau sekitar 10 meter. Rumus sama ini berlaku ketika frekuensi dalam gigahertz dan panjang gelombang ditentukan dalam milimeter. Dengan demikian, sinyal pada 30 GHz akan memiliki panjang gelombang 10 mm atau sedikit kurang dari setengah inci. Sulit untuk menghitung menggunakan rumus seperti itu, apalagi bagi orang yang belum mengetahuinya. Akan lebih mudah jika kita memiliki alat yang dapat mengukur medan magnet elektromagnetik. Sekarang ada alat yang berguna untuk mengukur medan elektromagnetik, yaitu IMF tester. Anda bisa mendapatkannya melalui website alat ukur Indonesia. Medan energi IM disebut spektrum radiasi elektromagnetik. Secara teori, itu meluas dari panjang gelombang panjang ke panjang gelombang pendek. Sedangkan dalam fisika elektromagnetik, medan elektromagnetik adalah medan yang terdiri dari gabungan dua medan vektor yang berhubungan, yaitu medan listrik dan medan magnet. G. Please sum up the article by explaining the reason why other use the tense with the simple present tense. Because simple means there is an event, well, if it present, it means now. In essence, the simple present tense is a sentence with a verb form that expresses events that are taking places in the present. Okay, it's finished. Thank you for attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.